Well, I guess I am looking at all of these, huh? I need to train myself on the Torch 60 universe to get ready for epilogue adventures, you know. Last time we played Soma Spirits Rebalance. No-D. But now, Crescent Prism Chapter 1. Released in 2017, and technically after Soma Spirits and Brave Hero Yusha, but also before their remakes. Originally this and Brave Hero Yusha was going to be the same video. It'd be like my love and recovery video, or Rex covery, because let's be real, that still sounds cool. Because I didn't think that Crescent Prism was going to be that long. I mean, it's just chapter 1, right? Well, in actuality, I have a lot to say about this game. It definitely surprised me in some really cool ways, so let's get started. Man, what a title screen. Really colorful, and the music, man. This is a Torch 60 game, so you know that means we got AgentApe back at it again with another just grand slam of a soundtrack. I'm gonna try not to repeat myself, but the soundtrack is pretty awesome. The standard battle theme for the earlier parts of the game just slaps, but the main theme is what I really love. It's great stuff. Starting out, we get to choose our difficulty again, which is pretty cool to see. You can even switch the difficulty mid-game if you choose normal or easy. Alright, so this game kind of starts out with a bang. You're in some base or something, and I'm guessing you're trying to escape. And I mean, it's like, hold up, who's this cowboy dude? Or this blue-haired girl, or whatever the hell this thing is. Who even am I? Too late, it's fight time. I really like the battle screens in this game, far more than Soma Spirit's static backgrounds. Always a fan of these RPGs with abstract backgrounds that represent the enemy you're fighting in some way, or just random shapes in general. I don't know why, but this stuff is just so much more interesting than like a background of where you're actually fighting. Anyways, after a few fights, the gang gets back together, and before they can make their escape, this huge TV screen dude comes out of nowhere. Whoa. Boom. 10 years earlier. What an opening. Alright game, you got my attention. Now as a true RPG beginning, you get woken up out of bed by your mom, in this case Astrid, and our main character, Lunita, 10 years younger. These guys are sort of like moon oracles or something. They have the power of the moon and stuff. It will make more sense in a bit. You get some more tips like telling you to save often, which hey, no kidding, I crashed like a minute later after reading that. Maybe I should be running these games in some sort of compatibility mode because I crashed like 3 times this playthrough. So yeah, after exploring the room, hey, is that Yusha? Wait, the Cooler Crusader? Are these worlds like connected somehow? Maybe it's just a neat callback. Regardless, it is cool to see a lot more of the same spells and items. I love it when RPG series do this. We're still here using our berry tonics. One thing I can say for this game is that I really like the visuals. You see a lot more sprite animation, like characters sometimes move around and express outside of their portraits. And there are a lot of portraits for the different characters, which I really love too. Also look at the UI when you pause the game. Whoa! I know this might not be that impressive to you guys, but when I saw this menu I was popping off. It's so cool! Maybe I'm just too easy to impress. Anyways, we're told that there's some sort of festival going on, more specifically the Crescent Festival, which is actually the name of this chapter. So we set off to the festival. Well, we're setting up the festival, it hasn't actually happened yet. And you know, just walking around and exploring, the worlds in these games are so cool, especially this one. You never really got to visit much of actual towns in Soma Spirits, and most of the characters were just objects, plants, food. But here we got some more humanoid characters, like yeah, there's humans, but you also see cool monster dudes with like fire and water droplet heads, whatever the hell these guys are, the squid looking dude, a duck. Don't worry though, we still got the characters that are just objects with eyes, which is something I personally really love. Before the festival can start, this putty dog thing ran off with the summoning rod, so I guess we're gonna have to go and get it. But on the way, we meet this cool looking robot dude who's looking for some mysterious stone or something. Listen, dude, you know how I feel about robots. I'll get you your stone or whatever the crap you're talking about. And you look like a pretty dapper looking gentleman, if I do say so myself. Although I don't know how I feel about that smug old look. Anyways, chasing the dog thing, which is kind of cool because you know that's the same dog from the intro, so you know that's your party member you're about to get. Anyways, you get stuck inside this shed, and well, here's our first dungeon. So let me put a break on the story here, and let's talk about the gameplay. Soma Spirits was cool. This is way better. Firstly, I like how much the game tells you about how everything works. You can tell there's a lot of respect and love for the genre here, like having a no XP or no money option you can turn on for challenge runs. And most importantly, it explains the stats, which Soma Spirits did too. Thank you. And you can bring it up anytime you want in the menu. You can find a similar book for status effects later on, but oddly enough, you don't keep this book, which I kind of wish you did, because if there's anything I'm going to double check on, it's going to be what status effects do. So for basically this entire game, most of the status effects didn't really make sense to me. Like, I still don't know what surround is. Okay, so the main mechanic of this game is moon phases. And I know what you're thinking. Spacey! Are we playing Shin Megami Tensei? And that's what I was thinking too, but as it turns out, Megami Tensei didn't invent the moon, so we'll be good. Basically, the moon shifts between new, waning, full, and waxing while exploring a dungeon. Depending on what phase it's on, it can greatly change battles, like enemies will transform or only use certain attacks on certain phases. But you also have the ability to change the moon phase yourself. It's pretty cool. I remember there was this part with these invisible enemies that I just couldn't hit and it was annoying me. But then it turns out if I change the moon phase to be more visible, the enemies become illuminated and I can hit them easier. That's pretty rad, man. They really run with this idea too with the bosses and everything. You even end up getting equipment that gives certain bonuses depending on the moon phase. Another mechanic at play is random encounters, and I know, I'm okay. I'm gonna make it through. Believe it or not, most RPGs actually have random encounters. You can tell if there's going to be a random encounter by the symbol up here. When you run into an encounter, you'll see a red exclamation mark above your head. However, if you're strong enough, you'll see blue ellipses instead. Hitting confirm when you see this will actually cancel the encounter. You don't get any XP or money, but you skip playing the game. I mean, if I was overpowered enough for the encounter, then I might as well just do the encounter. I only ever did this once just to see what would happen, but honestly I only ever saw it like twice. I was just never over leveled, I guess. I can see its purpose for if you travel back here later on in the game, because there are some areas we can't reach at the moment, or maybe ever. Anyways, after chilling out with a bucket and a mop, and having a little scuffle with a washing machine, we move on to the boss of this area, quite literally labeled as a boss. We find this mysterious violet colored stone. I guess this is what that robot guy was looking for, huh? We also find that dog thing here with the summoning rod, but it looks like he brought some trouble in the form of the scorpion guy. So I'm gonna be real, I've come to really love the bosses in these games because they always mix in the main mechanic. Dissonance and Form had the world shift stuff in Soma Spirits, and here we got bosses that can change the moon phase themselves and even power up or weaken depending on what phase it is. So it becomes another thing to juggle alongside doing damage and healing. Although this fight is really just a tutorial for the concept, they really end up doing some cool stuff with it with the later bosses we'll get to. So anyways, we got the putty dog on our side now, Maru. Don't sleep on him because he's actually the powerhouse of the party. The damage this guy can do is insane. We can also steal items from the opponent too, which is... it's cool. I mean, I have nothing against steal. In fact, I do think it's pretty cool. But man, did Final Fantasy IX scar me on that concept. Spent like 3 hours trying to get the light robe from Kuja, but then it turns out you can just get the robe right after the fight in the next town. Sorry. Well, the rates aren't as bad here, and it is pretty exciting to get new equipment from stealing. Or just steal to get random items to sell. Besides the status cures, I didn't find items that useful at all. I didn't even have to bother with the revive items. Okay, Scorpy's gone, but how are we going to get past these platforms? That was pretty amazing, actually. Finally escaping, you begin to make your way back to the square. Oh hey, there's that robot guy. You're about to give him the stone before a mysterious voice tells you, hey man, that guy's kinda weird, you probably shouldn't do that. So you don't give him the stone, which he finds pretty funny. Glad to see he can take a joke. Oh wow, he's really finding this funny, huh? You know, honestly, this guy is pretty cute. I like him. One thing I noticed that I'm not sure was intentional is that the inside of his eyes when he looks like this kinda look like moons. And maybe I'm crazy, but that's some cool detail if it was intentional. Anyways, if you're wondering how invested I was here, I was basically yelling at my computer, bro, run! He's going to kill you, what are you doing? Run! Luckily, you get scared off as Astrid approaches. How Astrid doesn't know the winged killer robot man turning into a ball of matter and ascending is beyond me, though. I guess she just blinked and missed it. I was also yelling at my computer here like, Lunita, please tell your mother about the scary robot guy who just tried to kill you, please. Like, it might just be more important than this festival thing going on. But no, she doesn't. Gotta respect her for not being a snitch, I guess. Well, everyone's gonna die, but let's at least enjoy the festival before that happens. So if you're curious about this guy's deal, well, to put it simply, let's just say he's got all the Chaos Emeralds, besides the one that you just found. These are called Prism Stones, and if this Count Chroma guy gets his hands on them all, the world is his. Oh well, who cares? Let's go to the festival. Back at the town, we see that one blue-haired woman from the intro again. Her name is Rain, and needless to say, she's pretty cool. After failing to extort a child for money, you find out that she's actually Astrid's sister, meaning you're all family. They all start talking boring adult stuff, so let's dip out. Without a second to waste, we get told that the summoning rod has been stolen again. Hey, maybe if this thing was so important, it should be better protected. Heading down to the festival square, we meet the coolest of coolers, the Sundown Squad, consisting of Nova, Krieg,
the Flauros.
Oh no, Flores, not Flauros, and Amos. Hey, that's that cowboy guy from the intro. It was around this time that I realized this game just has some godlike character designs. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm being pretty heavily catered to, but god, every corner I turn I see some cool looking character, man. So anyways, these guys want to get rid of the moon or some crap in order to stop people from sleeping so they can do more with their life, which is really respectable. Like, these guys are heroes. They're gonna be pretty stunned when they find out that nighttime isn't actually what causes people to sleep though. I guess more specifically, they want the sun to be out at all times. Interesting enough, in this world the moon is visible at all times. So they're going to climb to some high mountain to throw the summoning rod off it for some reason. Yeah, their crappy plan doesn't really make any sense, but you guys have fun, I guess. I tried to tell the adults about this crap going down, but nobody even really pays attention to Lunita. So finally coming to the conclusion that the adults in this game are totally useless, we set off with Maru to stop these sun dudes. Also, I haven't brought this up, but this is one NPC here. Like, the NPCs are pretty interesting in general, but this is one that just only talks about the ocean. Like, every dialogue from her is just her talking about the ocean, and I don't know why, but it's kind of memorable. Anyways, on to the next major area, the Mycon Valley, where you'll find yourself doing a lot of springing around on slimes and stuff. You see more of the sundown dudes, and wow, they are just really mean to Amos. Like, wow, what a bunch of jerks. They end up leaving Amos behind. Amos, I'm just gonna call him Amos. He ends up joining you, and you know, he goes on about how he's some 15-year-old kid that doesn't like to fight, but then you check his equipment and this dude has a Magnum. Yeah, just some 15-year-old walking around with the Lightning Hawk. This world hits different. But who cares, just look at him. Oh my god! The shadowy face, the cowboy hat, the striped shirt! Amos, you're too good for this world. Here, take all my permanent stat upgrade items, but just remember these are really rare, and he leaves the party. There he goes. Well, you do actually get to do a little dungeon with him beforehand. Anyways, gameplay wise, Amos is Gun. It's pretty neat. He's kind of like a mage. Like, he has the fire, ice, electric stick spells, but instead they're with his gun. I'm not sure if these skills do magic or physical damage. I feel like they should be doing physical damage, but judging from the damage against certain enemies, it looks like they're based off your magic stat. Hey guys, Spacey from the future again. I don't know how this keeps happening. I don't mean about me messing up Kleek's name. That's bad too, but... Okay, so it is magic. I only found this out just going through the editing, but in the instruction manual you'll see that there are symbols that are near every skill that tells you whether or not it's physical, magical, all that. And God, that's so genius, man. I can't believe I didn't notice it though throughout the whole entire game. I just never batted an eye towards that. Really dumb on my part, but man, that's so cool. Like for my game, I was just putting like P for physical, S for special at the end of every sentence for every skill. But I mean, I might have to steal this. Regardless, after you use one, it does change the element of his normal attack, including his barrage ability. For every 2 AP you have, Amos will attack an extra time. I can just imagine him fanning the gun. Oh yeah, AP, Astro points I believe. Everyone gets one every turn. It's used for specific abilities such as changing the moon phase, but you also get one later on that gives yourself MP and increases your crit rate, and you use that on Amos alongside his barrage, and we've reached Crit City. If the first boss was tutorializing Lunita and her abilities, this one is for Amos, because the boss is constantly changing elements, having Amos change his element as well. You know, honestly, I don't entirely understand how elements work in RPGs. Maybe it's because I've played so many and every single one has its own rules. Like here, fire is weak to ice and ice is weak to fire, but sometimes you see electric enemies and what are they weak to? Then there's elemental weaknesses towards races, like robot dudes are weak to electricity, unless if they are electric, then they're weak to water? I don't know, man, I don't think about it too hard. Anyways, now's around the time that Amos actually does leave you, which I think is a pretty neat play on expectations. You'd think because he's one of the party members in the opening, he'd stay for the whole time like Maru does, but no, he dips for a pretty good bit. Not too long afterwards, you run into the Sundown homies, still dissing my boy Amos, and this might be the coolest fight in the game. Well, maybe it's not that cool, but I like it. Despite these guys being moon haters, they're actually powered up depending on the moon phase. Each of them gets powered up by a certain phase, and by powered up I mean they're straight up invincible. So you're constantly changing targets, but also when it's a new moon everyone is vulnerable, so that's your chance to go in. It's also a pretty funny fight because you can tell these guys aren't even trying. Like Nova's just posing all around, Floros is wondering what they're even doing here. After defeating the Sundown guys, you get the rod back and they dip. Poor Amos, man. Amos joins you again when these people working for Count Chroma suddenly show up out of nowhere. They're pretty free, but then Big O comes out. Before you get destroyed, Astrid shows up and it's like, who even cares that Amos is here? Astrid is popping off. Don't even bother attacking. I like how when you do so little damage compared to Astrid, just to show the power difference between you. I was going crazy at this part, like, yo, get him Astrid, yeah! It's awesome. Though now would be a good time for me to say, one problem I have with the stealing in this game from Maru is that you can't change your equipment mid-battle. And that isn't really something this game needs. Like Soma Spirits, there isn't much for choices when it comes to the equipment, it's just this equipment is better than that equipment. But one of the cool things about something like the older Final Fantasy games is that you could steal something like a cool weapon and then equip it in the same battle. I'm only saying this because I stole some good equipment from the Sundown squad, like a new gun for Amos, but this was like 2 fights ago at this point, and I was never able to give Amos this cool new gun I picked up. Hell, Amos leaves afterwards, so I'm just looking dumb holding onto this thing. Anyways, after Astrid gives the work, Amos leaves to think about what being cool really means, and we go to the festival, where we chill with all the cool dudes. This is a pretty game, man. I love this screen here with the fireworks. I wonder how this was done. I'm guessing it's just cycling through pictures. I've done that myself for rpgmaker, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sergeant M found a more practical and efficient way. One of the coolest things about playing these games is seeing what other people can do with rpgmaker, man. Anyways, we're just taking a little break here to enjoy the fireworks. We're not done with the game yet. Going back to bed, later in the night, a loud crash is heard. Astrid rushes out to handle the situation, telling Rain to watch Lunita. Sorry Astrid, but we aren't gonna let you go out like that. The prism stone we're holding onto comes alive, revealing to be violet. We escape through the rooftops and find the side entrance to the secret base. Meanwhile, the Sunrod squad are dealing with the Chroma guys as well, and Amos decides to ditch them and join in on the fight, and this time, he's here for good. And we're in the fire, dodging enemies in stealth sections, rolling around, enemies that can attack all depending on the moon phase. Now we're talking difficult. I like this one battery enemy. If you defeat them, they power up the other enemies, so the strategy is to beat up the other enemies first. Not too long in here, you find Rain, who also ran off to help Astrid, and she joins up too. You know, when you have a full party in this game, it just becomes so much better than just the two-man party that was basically a one-man party in Soma Spirits. Like, it was cool that game had that mechanic and that whole gimmick going on, but man, it's like nothing beats just having a four-man party. Believe it or not, we're not entirely done with the gameplay stuff yet. Skills in this game are really interesting. There are some skills that have cooldowns on them. In the case of Rain, some of her skills have upkeep. She can build sentry boss that cost their MP at the end of every turn. I've never actually seen a turn-based RPG do something like this. Rain can also examine enemies, showing potential weaknesses and a health bar, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, you're going around this place in order to find 3 keycards, you know, like we're playing Doom. Even near the end, this game introduces some new things, like, hey man, there's the on-screen encounters. Okay, we got the 3 keycards, and the door congratulates us. Thank you, thank you. I love Amos, man. Going through and preparing for the worst, we find Astrid, who tells us we shouldn't be here and that we should run away. Yeah, no. Before we can follow her though, we get a really interesting boss fight that changes modes depending on the moon phase. It's really far out, because you get to choose what phases you do and don't want to do. Like, I don't know what this sabotage phase is all about, but I'm not trying to deal with status effects and debuffs, so I'm just gonna switch the moon phase on you. I really like this quote from Amos here after you defeat the boss. I wonder if he feels this way about the Sundown squad. It's a surprisingly mature take. Well, we make our way down and come face to face with Chroma. This is it. Ash should sleep, so it's up to us. Look at this smug guy. I love him. Eat this marble, loser. Needless to say, we get destroyed. This isn't a fight you can win. Not so fast though. Hidden Baller Tide shows up with the technology. The way they talk about how this is some sort of reunion, it really makes me curious what happened between these 4. Like, were they their own party at one point, with the Count betraying them at some time? Like, what's his backstory? Why does he want to take over the world? Well, maybe things aren't so deep. I like this moment how even after all these times Astrid tells you to leave, you stay, and she's proud of you for that. The relationship between these two is really touching. But now, with the Count being held back from Tide's technology, we might actually stand a chance. This is the final boss. For the fight, you learn the ability to reverse the moon cycles. The gimmick here is that if the moon reaches full moon, it's game over. It sounds intense, but it's not that hard to keep him in check, and if Lunita falls, someone else can reverse the moon phases. You know, after Soma Spirit's final boss, this isn't half bad. Besides the part where it crashed, but that probably wasn't the game's fault. After a not too difficult fight, he's defeated. Well, not really. The floor begins to fall apart, separating us from Chroma and Astrid. We can do nothing but watch as Astrid and Chroma battle it out. It's ultimately hopeless as Astrid gets destroyed by Chroma. In her final moments, and the coolest moment in the entire game, she calmly asks Lunita to give her the Prism Stone as the main theme kicks in. She then uses the Violet Stone to take out the Count. The base was destroyed, and Chroma and Astrid are gone. All that's left being the Violet Stone. There are no words to describe just how godlike this scene is, man. It's awesome. And now we're only left to wonder how things ended up where they were 10 years from now. Chapter 1. End. Man, what a game. Maybe we'll get to see the rest of the story one day. don't get my hopes up. Honestly, playing this, wait. I get the feeling I'm forgetting something. Yeah, we're not done yet. And one of the coolest twists that I never saw coming. We've got a bonus chapter on our hands where we get to play as the Sundown Squad. Hell yeah. As I said earlier, they're on the run from the Chroma soldiers, and after being surrounded, they basically clip through the ground. Whoa. Oh god, oh hell no. Guys, we gotta get out of here, fast. This isn't entirely some throwaway chapter. In fact, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, these guys are much stronger than Lunita's group. They had to be holding back in that fight. But also, they're way cooler. Like, these guys are really fun. Like, Nova's special skill is that he can pose. Let me go into these characters because they play in pretty interesting ways. Remember how they were invincible on certain moon phases? Yeah, using AP and depending on the moon phase, you can make one of them invincible, which is super useful at some points. It's cool because instead of the moon phase is just affecting the enemies, it affects your skills too. So Nova is super fast and can stun enemies. He can also debuff enemies and pose to get random stat bonuses. Krieg is pretty cool. They have skills that cost their HP and are super strong, but their special ability Assess gives them a huge HP refill at the end of the turn. It's pretty high risk, high reward. When used when they're at low health, it's like making a gamble that they won't be KO'd. It's hype, and it works well with their HP cost skills. Flora.
Here, the Flauros, a cage of peace. It can break through the walls of darkness.
No, we're not doing that joke twice. Come on. Anyways, Floris might be the coolest one. They're also my favorite looking one. I don't know, I got a thing for like the mages, the cute little jester hat. I'm about it. But and then they also got like the double knives. It's pretty cool, man. So they have the typical mage stuff going on, right? You know, besides the knives. So all their magic is single target. However, if you spend AP, you can use X magic, allowing them to use their last casted magic spell as one that targets all. I have never seen this concept in any RPG before, and it is so cool. Because it doesn't just apply to offensive magic. You can turn your single heal into a heal all. You can even sort of store the party heal if you use a single heal and then just use normal attacks until you need to use the heal all. The strategies you can pull with this is pretty cool. Be surprised because more cool mechanics are on the way. The puzzles here have been given a buff because there weren't really any puzzles before. We've got these ones about pushing rocks into their color correlated marks, and each rock moves a different amount of tiles when pushed. I was confused at first, but when I understood that you can use other rocks to help put certain rocks in their place, my mind expanded to unseen heights. Look at how I solved this puzzle. The fact that you can use the red to help out the other rocks is amazing. Like, was this intentional? I guess I will have to throw out this complaint. These puzzles are very color based. Like, all these rocks are just recolors of each other. I'm not colorblind, except maybe with that whole blue-purple thing, which I don't think is actually colorblind, just my eyes perceiving things different. But to colorblind people, this crap can suck depending on who you are. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't get mad for people who I'm not. But this looks rough. Casual suggestion to put marks or shape these rocks differently. But I don't know, I'm not allowed to speak on this stuff, I suppose. Regardless, this is surprisingly puzzle focused. Like, that's basically all you're doing here with some fights in between. Though we do get some more characterization on these three, mostly Nova. Maybe these guys aren't total jerks, but I don't know, man, they're still pretty mean. But they are heroes, I guess. I mean, Nova even has a skill called Expose Evil. But I don't know, you might need to self-reflect on yourself, man. It's cool though. I do like these guys, and turning these random side villains into seemingly important characters, not just some random one-off one-dimensional group. Yes please, I want to know more about these guys. The boss here is really cool too. I'm guessing the Count had been defeated by this point, because the group gets their hands on the red Prism Stone, and we get a pretty cool boss fight. Nova learns the ability to make the moon shift to the opposite side. Yes, we are still getting new mechanics. And here, the longer the boss is on one moon side, the stronger they get, so you have to constantly switch them back and forth between waning and waxing to reset the boss. I really like how they could have just done making the moon shift clockwise or counterclockwise like they've already done, just reuse the skill. But no, this is in some thrown together side chapter. Everything here is unique, and this is a new ability exclusive to Nova. Yeah, if this series was ever finished, I would love to see these guys as their own characters on their own quest, like just another party you can play as and build, and maybe even meet up at the end. I don't know. Maybe sort of like Treasure of the Rudras? That might be too obscure. Ooh, Suikoden 3, that's a good example too. But yeah. Main point here is around 2019 this series was cancelled, so chapter 1 was all we got. Am I sad? Well, yeah, because I really like this game and I really like this world and I really like these characters, but I mean, what do you want me to do about it? It makes me wonder what we would have gotten though. Was this the prologue and chapter 2 would be 10 years ahead? I was thinking if maybe this game was planning on being open world. Like, it makes sense with these backtracking mechanics alongside the boss notifications. Like, maybe you go to a previous area with some new travel abilities and you'd see a boss that's like way higher level than you, so you're like, okay, I'll come back here later or something. But when it's linear, it's like, yeah, what else am I gonna do? I'm just gonna go fight this boss. Like, I still don't know what to do about these red arrows. Like, what were they for? Could I ever have crossed this? Oh well. I'm curious how this would have all turned out. Would love to see my dude Amos again. I mean, he'll be an epilogue, I suppose. And you know, we may never get a chapter 2 of Crescent Prism, but we are getting Soma Union, and I'm sure that will end up even better. Because I know with Torch 60, I'm always going to see something cool and interesting. Brave Hero Yusha will be a next stop. I gotta wonder though, if Crescent Prism technically came out after Soma Spirits and Yusha, will Yusha have any mind-blowing mechanics that will blow me away? After all, this is kind of Torch 60's first game, huh? I'm not sure. Maybe though, we'll have to see. I'll catch you guys sometime, someday. See ya.